them by hand or using a calculator, but by hand, this still assumes that you have the inverse t function on your calculator. However, if you don't have the inverse t function in your calculator, then you have to use a table. There is a t distribution table. It's Appendix A3 in your book, and you can find your t values using that as well if you do not have the inverse t function. But you need the same information as you would use in the inverse t, is that what you have is that the area in the middle, we have to draw our picture again, the area in the middle we said was 0.90, and then the area on each end was, we said 0.05, and you still need the same information that you needed for the inverse t, is you also need those degrees of freedom. That df, remember, degrees of freedom, which is always your n minus 1. Well, our n in this one was 7, so 7 minus 1 gave us 6. So on your table, you'd go to your degrees of freedom, which is n minus 1 is 6, and then your area in just one tail was 0.05, or in both tails, if you were to look at them together, was the 0.10, and you find out where these two are going to overlap. Well, these two overlap at the same value we came up with for our critical value. That's the 1.943. That's your critical value, your t sub c. So this is another way to come up with that t value. But no matter what, whether or not you're using the inverse t or you're using this table, you still need the same information. Remember that you do get one sheet of paper that you can use for notes, so you may want to add something about how you're going to either use the appendix for the t distribution table, or how to use the inverse t if you're using your calculator, which is that it needs an area to the left, comma, then what comes next is your degrees of freedom, and depending on how good your memory is, you may also want to put n minus 1 is what your degrees of freedom is. Remember, you can put anything you want on your one sheet of notes. Again, it has to be one-sided and handwritten, but you can put whatever you want on it. Let's go over one more confidence interval.